Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome back to our virtual class consultation. We are now in week 6 using module 6 entitled Introduction to Quadratic Function. For this module, we have two objectives to accomplish. First objective is to model. How can we model real-life situations using quadratic functions? And second one is how do we represent quadratic functions using table of values, graph, and equation. So to start up with our lesson number 1 entitled Modeling Quadratic Functions in Real-Life Situations. As you can see on the picture, two pictures on the screen. The first picture on the left is a bridge. The second one is a sort of roller coaster, a portion of the roller coaster. The first picture is the Ellen Bridge found at Singapore. The second structural design is a roller coaster ride found at the Universal Studios, Japan. How can we associate these structural designs in our surroundings to what we call quadratic functions? So more or less, they have the same figure or structure or illustration of the two pictures. Nasa similarity, no? Round, half round. Okay. What special characteristic that these structural designs manifests quadratic functions? Based on the illustrations you have seen a while ago, do you have any idea why quadratic functions or equations are being associated with these structures? This is simply because the graph of a quadratic equation or function resembles the said illustrations that are curved in nature. So kada bantay mo ganina, mura siya sa gamit pa sa eskwelahan, mura siya protractor, no? Ang forma sa bridge is mura siya protractor. Then same pod sa roller coaster. A portion of the roller coaster resembles that of a form of a protractor. This curve illustration could either be in narrow form or wider form. So narrow, sabi pa mo gipot kasi nga tanan sikit. Wider, lapad. So the third illustration, there is a cupid handling a bow and arrow. Then it is striken into a heart. Sa history in Asia, there were old wars nga nagamit og mga gitawag og battering ram. And when they use the battering ram when waging war against their opponent, usually the battering ram is positioned in an inclined form, meaning padung ibabaw, inclined, so meaning mga 45 to 50 degrees ang iyahang pagposisyon. Napasabot nga at least ang bala sa ilahang kanyon would be released in such a way nga ang iyahang paglupad sa bala sa kanyon is in upward position, good enough nga makaabot siya on a certain long distance ngadto sa ilang opponent. So same po ni sa naggibuhat pod sa cupid, that the cupid is positioning his or her bow and arrow in an inclined position, mga 45 degrees going up. Kaya ang pag travel sa arrow, once it is released, makaabot siya og certain distance para maabot niya ang object, ang target object, which is the heart. So maka-question ta, what can we say about the movement of the arrow towards the heart? So di kalabutan aning movement sa arrow padung sa heart into our relation discussion on quadratic function. A while ago, there are two pictures, no? Ang bridge ug ang roller coaster, it forms a curved line. So ang direction di ay sa arrow, once it is released, will form a curved direction, no? Okay. ang pag-release sa arrow from the bow is in inclined position. So therefore, nag-release na sa arrow, muporma gid siya og murag rainbow before siya motugpa sa iyang target object. And that resembles the graph of a quadratic equation or function. But what do we really mean by quadratic function? How does it differ from quadratic equation? Bitaw sa unsay kalainan. Quadratic function is a polynomial function of degree 2. So same po sa quadratic equation, it is a polynomial equation of degree 2, which is defined by the form f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and such that a should not be equal to 0. Okay, once ma-0 na ang numerical coefficient sa quadratic term, mahimo na siyang linear equation or linear function. Okay? Then, sir, unsa man ang f of x? Unsa man siya represent? Unsa man siya kalabutan sa equation? If we will try to recall sa quadratic equation, di ba ang iyahang standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0 man, no? So therefore, ang kaning f of x replaces 0 at this time. Pero ang kaning f of x sa quadratic function stands for the variable y. So sir, ganun, duha naman kang variable na x and the variable y. Diba yung ka nga quadratic equation or function should only make use of one variable? Okay, this time ang y is replaced by f of x. Therefore, if there sa succeeding mga lessons, we will understand unsay gamit anang f of x, because there are certain values of x nga pwede na certain values of x sa f of x nga pwede nitong i-substitute or i-plug in sa phrase or statement nga ax squared plus bx plus c, and that represents y. Y is the dependent variable, while x stands for the independent variable. Okay, but will not be isolated, no, sa kaninga topic nga mag-equation. Ang ato is atong activity will focus on determining the given situation, real life situation, if we can identify it as quadratic or not. Okay, based sa ato ang tulo ka illustration katong bridge nga nay curve ang form, ug ang roller coaster, ug ang atong direction sa arrow released from the bow used by a cupid. So sa activity 6.1 on page 4, the instruction there is to analyze the items carefully. Write yes on your answer sheet if the item represents quadratic function, and no when not. So ang ato ang hinumduman ani is ang if ang situation mo resemble ba siya o kanang curve line. Sakto ba? Okay. So we have there 10 items, but you will answer only 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So you will read each statement or situation. Yeah. Try to picture out if this resembles a curved line. If not, you will write no. If yes, you will write if it is yes, if it resembles a curved line, then you will write yes. So that will be your first activity. Okay, next. Lesson number 2. How do we represent quadratic function using table of values? You still remember how you were able to identify if the given table of values represents a linear equation way back grade 7. Nani sa grade 7 tanan nga lesson about linear equation. Example, the first table we have there given values of x and y. Going back to lesson in grade 7, to identify whether the given table of values represents a linear equation is to subtract the values of y in a backward position. Na ang arrow nagpasabot nga ang 25 i minus 20. Pila man na? That is 5. 20 minus 15 is 5. 15 minus 10 is also 5. 15 minus 10 is 5. And lastly, 10 minus 5 is 5. So they have the same difference of y. Okay, merong difference. So the table represents a linear equation or linear function. The second table, we have there the given values of x and y. So we will do the same. We subtract ang values of y from right to left. So what is 0 minus 2? That is negative 2. 2 minus 6, negative 4. 6 minus 12, negative 6. 12 minus 20, negative 8. So the lines nag-resolve, no? Negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8. So obviously this table does not represent linear equation. So how do we classify the second table as an equation or function since it does not have the same difference of value of y? So saan man ni sir? So given that the second table does not represent linear equation, so it represents another type of an equation or function. So setting the second table as an example for this slide. So again, pag minus na to sa values of y, ang result ani niya mo gyapon to no, negative 8, negative 6, negative 4, negative 2. Obviously, this does not represent linear equation. So ay part sa slide kani siya oh na ang solution. The first difference, how do we get the first difference of y? So 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 2 minus 6, negative 4. 6 minus 12, negative 6. 12 minus 20, negative 8. But atong goal is to identify what kind of equation this table represents. So for us to classify this table as a quadratic function, we should get the same pareho. Same second difference of y value. So wala unsaon na pagkuha ang second difference of y, sir. Okay. So kanang negative 8, negative 6, negative 4, negative 2 are the first difference of y. So to get the second difference of y, so therefore ang kaning result nga negative 8, negative 6, negative 4, negative 2 ato po ni ipang minus sila. Okay. So backward position gihapon from right to left. Negative 2 minus negative 4. Wala. So saan to pag minus gani? Once we subtract a negative number to a negative number, dara ang solution. So negative 2 minus negative 4 is equal to 2. Wala nga equal to 2 muna, sir. No. Ang ruling sa addition and subtraction of integers, we cannot subtract a negative number from a negative number, no? So instead, we change the sign of the operation and the sign of the second number. So ang kanang negative 2 minus, ang kanang minus may himo na siyang plus. So yeah, at the same time ang second number nga negative, ma-change po din iyang sign, may himo siyang plus. So may himo siyang negative 2 plus positive 4. So pilam na negative 2 plus positive 4. Or negative 2 plus 4. That is positive 2. So muna buhaton sa succeeding nga mga pag-subtract. Next is negative 4 minus negative 6. So magyapon, that will be negative 4 plus 6. That is still positive 2. And lastly, negative 6 minus negative 8. That is negative 6 plus 8. So what is negative 6 plus 8? Positive 2. So, tadang! So pareha na sila og result. They have the same second difference of y. That is positive 2. So therefore, mo siya ang process sa pag-identify if the table of values represents quadratic function to achieve the second difference of y. Pareha gid dapat. If not, then makakonclude ta nga ang kanang table of values, if this is a parehong second difference of y, therefore the table of values is not linear nor quadratic. So butanan mo niya not quadratic or no. So possibly it represents another form of equation, if not linear or quadratic. So what to remember, we get the first and second difference values of y by subtracting from right to left direction. So for your activity on page 8, activity 6.2, we will analyze each item carefully. Write yes on your answer sheet if the table represents quadratic function and determine the second difference of y. So ang process nga gipakita ganina, pag-subtract no from right to left, sa first difference o second difference, inatuon yung pagbuhat. But after sa pag-subtract sa first o second difference, if di pa sa pareho o second difference, then you'll write no. So we have there 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But you will only answer items 1, 3, and 5. Na ipakita ang solution ha, yung sa pagkuha ang first o second difference, then before ka mo conclude when saying yes or no. So dapat na ay solution. Third lesson, how do we represent quadratic functions using graph? So on the right side, you will see the plane, no? A plane is an infinite space. But then when two lines intersect each other, and when the intersection is perpendicular to each other, or are perpendicular to each other, then it forms a what we call Cartesian plane or rectangular coordinate system. So based sa grade 7 and grade 8 ninyo mga topic, if naan siya makita, plotting points on a rectangular coordinate system. So the rectangular coordinate system has two lines, two opposing lines, the vertical line and the horizontal line. Their intersection creates 4 quadrants. The first quadrant on the right side, upper right. The second quadrant is on the upper left. The third quadrant is on the lower left, and the fourth quadrant is on the lower right. And each quadrant has its numbers. Okay, now designated numbers. So on the horizontal line, the center is 0, to the right are the positive numbers, to the left are the negative numbers. On a vertical position, on the center is the 0. Going up are positive y numbers, and going down are the negative y numbers. Previously, we learned that a quadratic function can be represented in a table of values sa lesson 2. So we have there values of x and y. But then, kani siya mga values of x and y can be paired. So kung makita nimo sa yellow, may mga pairing, no? Pairing of numbers which are put into an open and closed parenthesis. So based sa grade 7 nga lesson, may mga gitawag og ordered pair. The ordered pair is composed of the values of x and y. Ang x gitawag siya og abscissa, while y, if you will recall, y is named as ordinate. So the possible signs of the values of x and y may vary according sa iyahang quadrant, kung asa siya na belong. Either quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So, kanyang pairing 1, 8, 2 and 3, 3 and 0, 4 and negative 1, 5 and 0, 6 and 3, 7 and 8 will be plotted on the Cartesian plane or rectangular coordinate system on the right side. So, first plot is 1 and 8. So 1, 8 is found on the first quadrant. X is 1, y is 8. Puro positive. The second point is 2, 3. X is 2, y is 3. Then the third one is 3, 0. So 3, the value of x is 3 and y is 0. So kung makita nimo ang iyahang point na siya sa x-axis. Ang sa module, we name that one as x-intercept. Though the x-intercept are points found on the x-axis, either positive x-axis or negative x-axis. Makita na gina sila if one of the ordered pair is 0. Kung may nga kag y-intercept, ang iyahang point makita sa y-axis, either positive y-axis or negative y-axis. But in this case, 3, 0. So the point is located on the positive x-axis. Next, for negative 1. Okay. Ang x is positive 4, ang y negative 1. Kaya since ang y is negative man, so nasa sa ubos, going down. Then 5, 0. The second, ang ikaduhang x-intercept. Atbang siya sa 3, 0. Then next is 6, 3. X is 6, y is 3. So as you may observe, nag-atbang ang iyang mga points, no? Na equal gud ang iyang distance. Then the third one is 7, 8. Atbang siya sa 1, 8. So ang mga points nga nag-atbang are related to each other. And that on when the 7 points are to be connected, it forms a mura siyang dila, no? So we call that graph as a parabola, and it is extending going upwards. Kung continue, kung madaghan pa na siya ang table of values going left and going right, mas mutaas pag na siya ang parabola going up. And this parabola is facing upward. But atong activity dili mag-graphing ha. Ang atong activity, ang kaninga lesson geared towards identifying if the given graph resembles that of a parabola. Pariha ba siya o graph sa parabola? If not, so yung answer is no. Sa activity 3. So that is how we plot and draw the graph of the given quadratic function given its ordered pairs on a rectangular plane system. Ang kanina graphing na sa module 8. Module 6 pamanta. So dili ta mag-graphing pa. So what's new? So we call the graph of a quadratic function as a parabola. Sa linear function, we call the graph as a straight line, either horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. So the parabola looks like a half spherical shape. So sa atong nakita, mura siya dila. That could extend infinitely, either going upwards or downward. So we have two graphs. One is facing upward. Nya mura siya sikit kayo, no? And the second graph is facing downward. Nya lapad-lapad ni bukha siya. So the first graph is a narrow parabola. So sikit kayo yung graph. Wa ka siya ni buka. While the second graph is a wide parabola. It is facing downwards at the same time, bukha siya. So mora gina possibility ang dagway sa parabola. Facing upward, either in narrow or wider form, or facing downward, either narrow or wider form. So any graph that shows similar faces of these two graphs are considered quadratic function. If dili ingon ani ang iyang dagway sa graph, then that graph is not a quadratic function. Lahi na ng function iyang represent. Okay? So again, dohara iyang forma sa parabola, either facing upward or facing downward, nya either narrow or wide. So for your activity, third activity on this module, what's more on page 11, analyze each item carefully, write yes on your answer sheet if the graph represents quadratic function, and no if not. You'll answer items 1 to 10. So ang imong guide, if ang iyahang graph sa activity is a parabola facing upward or a parabola facing downward. If wala siya sa duha, ay mong judgment ana is no. Okay, the last lesson. Lesson 4 is how do we represent quadratic function using equation. So sa module murag taas kay madaha kay mga suwat, no, but we will focus on this part only. For us to determine if a given equation or function is a quadratic or not, we simply go back to the various forms of the quadratic function as shown below. Yan na po ni siya sa module, no, or nato sa box. As long as it contains the degree 2, the highest exponent of that function is 2. So kung 1 na siya, linear. Kung more than 2 na siya, like 3, 4, 5, dili po na siya quadratic, di po na siya linear. So na siya lahi na siya lahi na po na siya nga equation or function. So we have there 1 2 3 4 5 6 unom ka forms ang gipakita din na niya na pay laing forms. Sagdi lang makita lang gyapon na siya sa module ang tanan example. So a few examples of this are here. First example, f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 6x plus 12. So complete ang quadratic function. The second one, f of x is equal to 3x squared plus 16. Duha ka terms, no? Ang quadratic term o ang linear term. First and second term ra ang given. This is incomplete quadratic function. The third example is also considered an incomplete quadratic function. F of x equals to negative 4x squared. Quadratic term ra ang given, but still it is quadratic. Okay, naa man ang present sa exponent nga 2. Sa first, second, and third example. Fourth example is another form of incomplete quadratic function. Given the first term, 6x squared, and the third term, negative 15. The last one is what you call the vertex form of the quadratic function. F of x is equals to 2 times the square of x minus 3 plus 6. Now, kung naani gayong given, we will expand this one. We will write or rewrite this form into a standard form, from vertex to standard form. Kung ma-achieve ba ang iyang quadratic form. So, ang square sa x minus 3, duha ka buok ang pag-rewrite. So 2 times duha ka x minus 3, since the exponent is 2, then plus 6. Then to go further, to simplify, that is 2 times the trinomial. Yun sa pag-achieve ang trinomial. Kay bauta sa module number 1, to multiply two binomials, the result is a trinomial through FOIL method. First term, outer, inner, and last. So first term, x times x is x squared. Outer, x times negative 3 is negative 3x. Inner, negative 3 times x is negative 3x. So duha ka buk negative 3x, that is negative 6x. And last term, negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. So muna siya nga x squared minus 6x plus 9, sud sa parenthesis. Then ang gawas kay 2. Then bring down plus 6. So to simplify further, since naa may 2 gawas sa parenthesis, so i-distribute ang 2, i-multiply ang 2 ngadto sa trinomial. 2 times x squared, 2x squared. 2 times negative 6, negative 12x. 2 times 9, 18. Bring down plus 6. Sorry. Then ang 18 ug 6 i-add. 2x squared minus 12x plus 24. Kaya 18 plus 6 is 24. So for your activity on page 15, activity 6.4, answer only items 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So 5 ra ka buok, no? Para maka-justify mo ng quadratic function siya by writing yes, you need to write your solution on a scratch paper for this activity. Activity 6.4. Ang solution nga akong gi-require is nara sa activity 6.2. Ang activity 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, ang inyong pag-answer is either yes or no ra gyud. Pero on this activity, you need to write a solution on separate paper. Then lastly, post-test on pages 17, 18. Answer items 1 to 15. Letters only. There's no need for solution. So thank you once again for participating in this virtual consultation. For any questions, you can message me through Facebook or Messenger. Once again, good day and thank you.